So, good evening, everyone. Oh, it is morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So today, I'd like to talk something about unit number 4, exceptions and errors. What exactly this and how you can able to handle this will be discussed by today here. So normally there are two different types of errors in any kind of language. You can consider any language, whatever the language you can consider. You do have two different types of errors might be available. So they will be considered as syntax errors and exceptions. Semantic errors cannot be, of course, one more kind of error will be there, that is semantic error. That semantic error cannot be handled by the either syntax or exceptions here, because semantic error is the perception of the user, not the activity of that particular user while writing the code. So that is not supposed to be taken into consideration. And syntax errors, in the sense, these are also considered as parsing errors. Parsing errors in the sense, while any program is being executing, before going to execute, each and every statement is being converted into its machine language. While it is being converting, so whatever the rules and regulations will be followed, such kind of rules and regulations will be called as a parsing. While doing some kind of parse operation, then syntax errors will be gets identified immediately. For example, if you are supposed to write something like this here, so let me say, so there is a print statement, something like this, print of something. You may be print something here, and you can close two braces, for example. Two parentheses will be gets closed here, then this will be considered as a parse error. Let me say syntax error. Okay, so immediately Python will be throw an error to you that extra parentheses will be taken here. Some kind of message will be thrown to you. So such kind of errors will be identified during parsing. Whereas exceptions, if you consider exceptions, even though your statement is syntactically correct, your statement, every statement what you have wrote for the program, everything is correct, but during execution, Python will be throw an error, then such kind of errors will be considered as exceptions. Repeat again, even a particular statement or a particular expression is syntactically correct. Let me say, let me write something like this here, some A will be equal to, so some B divided by 0. As far as the syntax which is being taken into consideration, this is correct. There is no problem in this. So one variable must be there, one equal to must be there, another operand will be there, divide operation is there, and a 0 also be there here. As far as syntax is concerned, this particular statement is correct. But while executing this entire statement, so normally any number which could not be divisible by 0. So that is the error which is being thrown to you. So therefore, any error during execution, any statement will be causes any error. Such kind of errors are called as this statement is syntactically it is correct. Syntactically there is no problem with this particular statement here. But as far as execution point of view, Python, during execution, Python will be throw one particular error for this particular statement. So such kind of errors during execution will be called as exception. They are called as exceptions. When exceptions are raised by any language compiler or interpreter, obviously your program will be terminated abnormally. So without your knowledge, it could be terminated. For example, let me give you one more kind of example here. So if you take some A will be equal to -10, and b will be equal to, so square root of sqrt of a will be taken. So it is correct as far as syntax is concerned. Syntax is concerned, this statement is correct and this statement is correct. But while executing, square root cannot be taken negative values. Square root cannot be taken negative values. So this will be square root domain error. So some kind of errors which are being causes during the execution. Such kind of errors are known as so exceptions. If such kind of exception will be there, so normal user can worried about those exceptions here. Instead of, your program will be so abnormally gets terminated. So if any program will be abnormally terminated, so user, the end user will be always worried about that one. So therefore, so if you are having any such kind of exceptions, you must handle them and display appropriate message to them without terminating the program. Without terminating the program, you have to display the appropriate messages. Appropriate messages. So while talking something about exceptions here. So that is why exceptions are playing a vital role while writing any kind of code here. Okay, so that is the major information regarding to so exceptions here. On the definition, what I told you just before, errors detected during execution are called as exceptions. Okay, during the execution, programs execution, any errors will be detected, then such kind of errors will be considered as exceptions. That's what you need to remember. This statement is very, very important to be remembered here. Okay, then followed by exceptions can be many types. Of course, we do have many, as much as many number of exceptions in Python. I have given very so short list for you, a very very comprehensive list here. So probably first one is divide by zero. So just before I have shown you. So something accessing a file which does not existed while we are trying to so apply a particular file for read mode. So if a read mode will be there with you for a particular file, so mode of file will be read. If file will be existed, that can be open in read mode. If file does not existed, so it will be throws an error. So that error is called as so accessing a file which does not existed. And then addition of two incompatible types. For example, if I am trying to add float and float, there is no problem. If I am trying to add integer and integer, no problem. If I am trying to add so some other a class and a particular integer, then types could not be so compatible. So if incompatible kinds of things will be there with you, then obviously they will be considered as an exception. They will be causes an exception here. And next one, many other types are there. And for example, if you take a list, here, a list might be having, so particular list might be having some number of elements here. For example, 0, 1, 2, 3, only 4 elements are there with me here. I am trying to access, so out of the boundary, let me say I am trying to access L of 4. So L of 4 does not really existed here. Of course, L of 5, sorry. L of 5 does not really existed here. Or L of 4 also, so does not really existed here. So if you are trying to access such kind of indices, then obviously it will be causes an error, index error. Okay, some kind of all these errors will be comes into the picture as the exceptions here. While writing the program, you could not identify, but during execution, yes, you can able to identify that. So the specific thing is going to be taken into consideration here. Okay, then name error. So if you are trying to write a particular statement might not have a proper thing here. So then that error will be called as name error here. Something like that. Type error. So any data type is mismatched, then immediately you could get type error. Like this, you do have approximately many n number of exceptions are there. I have listed out very so small in number here. Very small in number here. Very short list for you. Okay, then the same thing, Sorry for this, the same thing here. Now you can see exception versus syntactic errors. Syntactic errors are always parser will be detect those errors. Parser will be detect those errors here. Okay, so that is what the error which will be comes under for syntactic error. Whereas exception here in the sense Python code will be results one particular error while it is being executed. So that's the difference between these two here. You need to understand the difference between these two here. Very important. Okay. Now, how can you handle the exceptions here? Is there any particular way to be handle the exception here? Yes, there is a specific way to handle the exception. So try to handle the exception by using so try block, and when you are trying to write some kind of code which will be causes an error during the execution, so that will be written here. If any code will be written which will be causes an error, so which will be written here. If any so exception will be raised, yes, you can catch them, or you can let me say accept them within this particular block, and this block is going to be let me say handle those exceptions by displaying very neat message to the people, very convenient message to the people here. And if you wrote, for example, exception 1, exception 2, exception 3, you are thinking that these are the three exceptions which may be causes while executing the program. For example, while executing the program, exception number 1 can be. So there is a possibility to have this particular exception, and exception 2 could also be raised. Exception 3 could also be raised. You think that only three exceptions can be causes this code, but any other exceptions what you have specified, they will be written in else block. In else block. Okay. If any other than what you have handled, so other than these handled exceptions will be there with you, then you have to write in other block, that is else block here. Okay. Else block here. That is the meaning of else. And so if you are supposed to write, so this is the final exception which could not be written back, then you have to take so finally. So there is a possibility that if you don't have any exception in try block, so this could not be gets executed, this could not be gets executed. But if you write any finally, it must be executed, though you don't have any exception here. Though you don't have any exception here, it must be executed since it has been written in finally. Okay. So that is what the points which we have to remember for so this handling the exceptions in Python. Let me show you one specific video. Try to observe this particular video. So one particular person is trying. Finally, he could not get any service from the people. So just take this particular video here for a while. So you can take this particular video. Please watch this particular video for a while. The red colored person. Try to observe him. So hope that you understood what is exception. So you must be always care enough while trying to actually this particular video is related to queue, stay in queue. So while explaining the queue, so then you have to play this particular video. But here also a relevance is there for the exceptions here. So that is why I have displayed this particular video for you. Okay. However, so let us go and try something about exceptions in terms of Python here. So let me show you how exceptions will be. So let me take one particular program. So look at this. So let me take two inputs. So some a will be equal to so integer of input here. Input, enter a number, whatever number you are interested. Okay, you have taken one particular number here. Then followed by some b, also taken same kind of input here. So let me take another number in terms of b. Some c will be equal to a divided by b, and so print so c equal to, for example, if this could be means a and b values will be so not equal to 0, there is no problem. This problem can be worked out in a proper way. Okay, this problem can be worked out in a proper way. When b will be get 0, then obviously this particular code cannot be executed. Let us see, a value is 2 and b value is 5. Yes, you got something. So there is no problem at all. There is no specific problem at all. Let me execute one more time. So if I would take some 3 and 0, then there is an error. The error is 0 division error. So this is the exception. This is the so exception where it has been raised. Okay, this is the exception. So if you are trying to, trying to handle this particular exception, so you could able to do this one here right now. So as I show just before, so look at this particular thing here. Try except else finally. Try. You need to write whatever the actual code you are expected to. So right here, you just write a particular code which we are supposed to take into consideration, and this code will be causes any exception, then those exceptions can be gets handled here. Look at this particular execution again. So end user has given 3 as input and 0 as another input. For example, if I would type one more statement here, for example, after this one, so let me say print so let me say a equal to a, and one more statement I would like to type here. That particular statement will be print b equal to b here. So I'd like to print these two as values as well. So after displaying the c error, c value, then I'd like to print so these two values as well. Let me execute this for this statement. This particular program for a while here. So look at this. Wait for a while. So here it is 3. Here it is 4. So there is no problem. 0.75 and a value, p value can also be displayed. Now let me execute one more time for this particular problem. So 4 divided by 0, it could not be display the next statements. Abnormally, your program was terminated. Okay, if it could not be. So when exception will be raised, let me say this is the statement where causes the this is the statement where causes the exception. If such kind of exception will be gets raised, obviously rest of the statements cannot be executed. Your program will be terminated immediately. Your program will be terminated immediately. So that is what you need to consider in this case here. Then how could you, so without a termination, something like this traceback error, by providing this particular traceback error, so without terminating the program, how could you finish off the program in a proper way here? In the sense, there are certain statements here, try, so colon. So within this particular statement, I am trying that c equal to a divided by b. C equal to a divided by b. After getting this one, yes, I'd like to display the contents as well. I'd like to display the contents of this particular, whatever the statements you are expected to display. Yes, go ahead and display everything here. So whatever the expectations of you, you can display everything here. And if this particular statement will be causes any error, if this particular statement will causes any error, those errors are supposed to be, those errors are supposed to be catch, let me say except. So you need to, what kind of exception you are trying to apply here? This is my exception. Divide, sorry, zero division error. This is my exception where exactly I'd like to handle here. So if this exception will be raised because of this particular statement, because of this particular statement, this exception will be raised. You may be write a particular piece of code here, print. So cannot divide by 0. You can display your own message, whatever the message you are expected to. So in arithmetic operations, 0 division is not possible. You can write a formal sentence, whatever the sentence you are interested. Yes, you can write. You can write them and you can execute them. Let me show you right now. So you can say this one here. So a number, let me say, let me take some 7 and another number, let me take 2. So there is no problem. There is no problem. 3.5 is the, so 7 divided by 2 will be 3.5, and you got 7 is the A value and B value is this one. Okay. Now let me execute one more time here. Here it is. Let me take some 4 and 0 will be the particular value. Look at this. It is not throwing any error, something like this. It is not throwing any error, something like this. Okay. It is being taken only. So whatever the message you have displayed there, then end user will feels that, oh, there is a particular error. Program is written by me in a proper way, but during execution, some kind of error has been generated. So that is the problem. So he would understand. So that is the problem. So therefore, any errors, whatever the errors you could get, those errors are supposed to be executed. So supposed to be, I mean, try and accepted, something like this here. Try and accepted, something like this here. Now, if I would take one more problem. So let me say, if I would take, so there is a list. Let me take, there is a list here. Some LYST will be equal to, so I, for I in a range of 1 to some 10. Okay, 1 to 10. List has been created. If you print the list, there is no problem. LYST, it could be generated. It's okay. List will be generated with a proper way. There is no problem at all. So 1 to 9 will be generated here. Now, if I would apply the particular statement, something like this, I would like to display every element in a proper way by using for loop. I am trying to specify that I am taking, so the range as 10. So therefore, for example, if I would say for I in range of, so range of 10, in range of 10, then print, so LYST of I. If I would say something like this, for example, of course, there are many other ways to be displayed, but I would like to show you how an exception can be, list exception can be. So if I would, so the execute this particular thing, obviously there is an error. The error will be index error. You can see this one. This is the error name. So how could you handle this one here? How could you handle this one here? So if I would like to take this particular exception, so let us see, how could you handle this one here? So here you need to write try. Okay, I'm trying this particular kind of so thing. When this particular statement will be causes an error, then immediately that could be accepts or accepted. Except what kind of accept you could get? Index error. What kind of accept you could get? Index error. So if you want to display something on behalf of this one, so what was the message which has been list out of range, list index out of range. Let me write same, list index out of range. Okay, so something like this. I'd like to specify something like this. Look at this. and let me execute this one here. So look at this. After displaying so all these elements, so it is also be displayed to you. If I don't want this particular message in a proper way, so I don't want to display this particular message here in the sense, you just make this particular statement as a comment line, and you just type. So there is a particular statement here, the statement which will be always as PASS. Do nothing. Don't do anything. Pass. So if you do something like that, then it will be executes like this here. So previously, if I would take a list out of range in the sense, obviously it could be generated some error. Instead of this error, so look at this, user could understand that, oh, we have only 9 elements with me. So I am trying to access the 10th element is not existed, something like this. If you don't want to display this particular thing as well to the user, then so during handling this particular error, if you apply pass will always do nothing. So therefore, so it will be done here. In this way, you can handle the so exceptions here. Okay, this is the way of handling the exception here, and I'll show you what are the different kinds of other things. So I have given only these two here. So try has given and except has given. So then else part and finally part, and two more are there, assertions. One more thing are there, assertions and raise. There are two more syntaxes are there. I'll let you know everything by tomorrow's class because I have some work with me. So let you know by tomorrow's class. Otherwise, in the evening as well, there is no problem. By evening, so 6 o'clock, we'd like to start our work. By 6 o'clock, we'd like to start our work.